they put it on social media, and they do it for clout. They line their pockets for money, or they do this for followers, and they get all the attention or whatever. But like
they don't change.
They don't change. So it's like they don't do anything. So like that's like the pandering I was talking about. Like people they pander, but nothing gets done. So like the only thing like pandering it may appeal to certain people. Like okay, that makes me feel better. It shows that they care about Black Lives Matter. I'm done. So it's like, and I'll just sit around and like, are you serious? Like, that's it? Like, so what are we going to do about police reform? Like, what are we going to do to get more police training for, like, these certain situations about going to these inner cities and communities where violence is happening and it's running rampant? What are we going to do to equip the police that's going to make them more, like, accountable and more respectful and, like, kind of more, like, a little bit more well-trained when it comes to situations like that? You don't always have to draw your gun on somebody, like, just because you think they're suspicious. You just draw your weapon and be like, oh, like, I think he's suspicious because he's wearing a hoodie. It's like, no, like, dude, like, I was like, you can't do that. Should be like, every officer should have like a track record to see what they did of like misdemeanors and like, they kind of check out. It's like, all right, they get, and like you get pulled into like your department, like head of department, whatever, and they have a meeting with you. I was like, okay, like, so you had these like incidents right here. What do you think you could have done differently? And if you like, you address like what you did wrong, whatever that, then the next time if you do it again, like, you don't get like a second chance. No, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, because this is a job like you know what I mean? Like the
stakes are higher than a normal job.
Yeah, the stakes are a little bit higher because like you have a firearm on you and like you have a lethal weapon and there's other people like you're there to preserve and protect. You're not there to like you're not like crime fighters. No. You know what I mean? That's not your sole like profession in that job. Like you have to serve and protect and like render aid to people. That's just how it is. Like you're a public like. It's like almost like public service at the same time. Like you have to be part of the people because you are like part of the people. It's just like you just like have another standard. You know what I mean?
Well, it is public. It's not like public service. It is. Public service.
It's close to it.
It's the same way with politicians. Like if you are in government, you are there to serve the people that you are representing. You're not there to line your own pockets or do whatever. And that's the thing with term limits when you talk about career politicians. It's like the problem is they're never going to vote for term limits because that hurts them.
Right. So I'm not going to get as much money as them now, so like I'm not voting for that. Like that's a stupid idea. Yeah. So like they're not going to vote for it.
No way that's going to happen unless either there's an executive order or some other drastic change. But it's a weird one. And the other thing I thought about earlier, we were talking about is like this whole idea of like white privilege is like it makes sense on paper. But like you and I are in the same room right now, and we are being treated as equally because we are treating each other as equally. If somebody else comes into the room and treats you differently because you're black, the problem is not me existing and being white. The problem is the person.
That person just has like a prejudice against me. He's being discriminated.
Yeah, the problem is racism. The problem is not a white person for existing as white. It's the problem. It's the problem of the person who's treating that
individual person. That person.
Right.
As for them, that's who they are.
And it's weird because then. It's like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do, or what is somebody else supposed to do? It's like if you just exist, then that's a problem. It's like, like there's a flaw with that idea because like people say, okay, well, inherently life matters, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, well, that doesn't jive with that idea. There's like like on paper it makes sense because you look at it and you're like, yeah, I guess I did. Like I haven't got pulled over by the cops as much as like a black person would have, but like that's not my fault. That's the cops' fault for pulling over the black people too much.
So it's just people lumping each other into like these different groups, and that's what people need to understand. I was like, you just need to stop like doing this whole identity politics, like this whole like marginalizing and categorizing people, and just be free, your own person. Mm-hmm. Like you're gonna have adversity, you're gonna have like obstacles in life. It doesn't matter what it is. It can be socioeconomic. It can be like there can be racist people that come at you and kind of impede you from what you're doing, but like. It doesn't matter because you can still get to where you need to. Like, there's like a lot of examples. Like, for a good example would be my dad. So like he's one out of 4 colored pilots in the Marine Corps to get to command his own squadron and his own air group, and he did it twice. Mm-hmm. So it's like 1 out of 4. I was like, dude, like, just like you have like there's like no other excuse because like he told me like there's been plenty of racists inside like the Marine Corps and in the military or whatever, and he's had his fair share of like combating it and like overcoming it. But he said yeah, it's there, but like that's not going to stop me from what I want to do. Like, and I'm not going to bash I'm not going to paint the rest of all these other white people that are there like as racist. Like, I'm going to see those individuals that came at me. They're responsible for what they did. I'm not going to paint out, the rest of the whole like white community and like white people as racist. And
that's an interesting point you made about like being able to overcome stuff. Like, so if you're born into a situation like in the inner city where your dad's already in jail, you don't have guidance in the home, like in the gang, like the gang becomes your like brothers or whatever. Like, you can make all the best decisions in the world, and sometimes if you're put into a situation that's that poor, based on like we're talking about like this, like all the stuff being intertwined, as so like when they say like systemic racism, they're like that there's a point like so like there's truth to your point as well, but there's also truth to like sometimes you can make all the best decisions in the world and it doesn't matter because some cop was racist and he shot you and you could have made the best decisions ever.
Exactly.
So it's like it's a real tough one because right now, like if someone in a suburban community makes bad decisions, they'll probably turn out fine. But if somebody in the inner city makes bad decisions, they are most definitely not going to turn out fine. And like that's kind of like the equality of opportunity. Like we want to get the opportunity on a level playing field, not the outcome, because people are different. And they have different capabilities. Like I have different capabilities from you, and like we think differently about different things, and we have different passions. So like if you and I have the exact same opportunities, we're gonna turn out different. But to make sure that people are able to have like at least similar opportunities, right? There's like
socioeconomic,
there's gonna be inequality in the world, just like and like. There just is, because people are different. People are unequal, and their outcomes are going to be unequal, and then their kids' starting points will be unequal from the next one. And that's just like that. That's just like you and I. We could have the exact same opportunity starting from scratch. We will turn out differently.
Like make different decisions,
and so our kids will then be starting out in a different place. Regardless of what good or bad decisions were made. If you and I start off in the exact same place, our kids will start different places.
Exactly.
And so it's like we want to make sure that the society is well balanced enough that there's not one group that like starts way far ahead or behind.
It's like it's not like the disparity is not too bad.
The inequality cannot get out of hand, because then the people at the bottom will be
that's what I was saying. Exactly, but that's what I was saying.
Thing.
That's where the constituencies that are in place right now come into play, because like there's one during the crack epidemic, there was like they had like this huge meeting with like a whole bunch of state officials and like federal officials. It was like, what can we do to like solve this? Like, let's crack down on more like the laws and like incriminate more people and like give more power to the police. And that was like the late 80s, like early 90s that was going on. So it's like, okay, so that was put into place. Then what happened? More people got incriminated, like people of color, for like little petty crimes. Like they're incarcerated longer, and like so it's just like they're pointing fingers at at the police. Oh, police are bad. They should be defunded. It's like, no. It was like, yeah, you got to hold the police accountable. The individuals that do like the stuff that are like George Floyd and like and the other incidents that have been happening. And it's like you got to look at you can't just look at the bottom. You got to look top up. So you're like, okay, who let these how long has this been going on? Like you got to kind of see from that perspective. Who's appointed to let this happen? And or let this type of stuff happen. It's like you got to look at it from okay, so you got to so you got to be who's appointed. So okay, this chief, he needs to be investigated, and the state, whoever the council members and the governor, whatever, they need to be just as responsible, because they're letting it happen. It's this has been going on too long, and that's what people need to stop saying oh, also police will never happen. I was like, no, you're gonna have crime no matter what, no matter where you are, no matter what your skin color is. There's always gonna be crime. It doesn't matter what it is.